nice that some of you checked in. I'm Nana, one of the curators of the Living Manifesto. Can you all hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Yes. Yeah, and I have the pleasure of introducing Annika and Jari's artist talk. But just before we continue too much, it would be a good thing if you've seen the MEPHISTO, so their piece, either a live version of it or a digital version of it, since it is an artist talk where it's primarily dialogue based. And we will have a dialogue for around half an hour. And this whole event is being recorded. So if you do not want to have your face on the recording, you're more than welcome to turn off your camera. And I think that is more or less it. Wait, one important thing, if you're not talking, then please stay unmuted, or if there's a lot of sound in the background, so we can hear what each other are saying. But I will give the word to Annika and Jari.
Yes.
So
well, my name is Annika.
And my name is Jari.
And I have asked Jari to collaborate with me on this project as part of our master studies.
And I, by profession, am a lighting designer, lighting and multimedia.
And I am a dancer, choreographer, and also teacher.
So basically, the project MEPHISTO was our graduating piece, where we collaborated on different collaboration working methods, on how to create the show, on the theme of MEPHISTO, which is originally the book by Klaus Mann, but this is only just like that laid the ground, or like the basement for the whole thing, and we derived all our other texts and dramatic movement-based action on stage from that material, but it was only just like an inspiration. We didn't want to do a dramatization of a novel, but just to use like the themes that were actual and on point during that time when Klaus Mann wrote the novel. So just after the Second World War. So we found out which were the relevant points in that to start our creative journey.
And also to ask ourselves, where is our personal MEPHISTO in this time? And we also collaborated with a sound designer, Tea Soti, from Serbia, and as well as Natalie Baudi. She's a dramaturg from Germany. And we all contributed with our personal MEPHISTO, with our different kind of skills into this project. Each had Tia had a song about MEPHISTO, Jari had the apolitical MEPHISTO text, I had my personal MEPHISTO, and Natalie as well. Yes, and so we merged all this together in one piece, and a big inspiration was also my research on Tanztheater and how dance and theater can add on to each other, to open up and to merge art forms. Yes.
So in the end, it was like a multi-layered piece with a lot of topics and a lot of like lines that were parallel on stage as well. So it was like in a sense, I would say it's quite like dense with the signifiers on stage. But I would also like to now kind of like turn to the audience, so we could like bramble on about like how we did it and what happened and so for a very long time. Yes. But if there is something you want to like know more about, so we would have like a what would interest you more, then we were like two big ears.
Yes. So yeah, please give us some feedback, because this would be really wonderful, or ask questions.
And since we are not that many people, you can just unmute and talk.
Can I come? I'll just introduce myself. My name is Helle. I know Annika already. I'm a choreographer, and I had the privilege of during the first lockdown, we were talking a little bit, and the part with the flower I've already been introduced to, but this, I think it must have been a year ago. It's a very early stage of the work. I already was introduced to this whole theme. And I want to start with a very stupid question. The washing machines, how did they happen? That very surprising element for me.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that there are no stupid questions. Sometimes there are like irrelevant questions, but that question is absolutely not like an irrelevant question. If it comes from personal curiosity, then I would say there are no stupid questions. Basically, my goal for that project was to find a thematical element, which by multiplying would lose its original meaning, and to add something on top of it. So if you would have, for example, only one washing machine on stage, then it would signify a washing machine. But you wouldn't use a washing machine, for example, as building material. You wouldn't make a wall out of it. And also to tie down like the thematical theme of that was also we had the small little Santa's artificial intelligence helper Alexa on stage. And right now also like very big is the Internet of Things. So you have the thing that all your home appliances are actually communicating with each other. So that was also one of the small connections that was like behind it. And during it was a collaborative method that we used with Annika. So the things that we put on stage came in a devising process and came into the process as we went along. So at one point we were trying to figure out what is the main element that would tell the story of also the story of consumerism as well, which is like this. You have this one object which is quite well known, a household object which almost everybody has in their homes, at least in Western Europe. Then and what is also the life cycle of that one, that thing. So we used what is in Danish? It's the recycle. Yeah, so how is also the recycling process of that one? So it starts out as a very practical and handy tool, but also what happens to it afterwards. So as I said, it's a multi-layered thing that you can see on stage, and it's possible to read a lot into it. And if it has a surprising effect as well, and also trying to take apart the original meaning and to add more things to it. Also, for example, the fact that the washing machines were also lamps at the same time.
Storage room.
Or a storage room. So using like the method of deconstruction and taking it apart, so it wouldn't be the thing that it is usually used as.
Thank you. But I thought, for me personally, I thought it worked because it was, you know, a projection screen. It had so many different layers, and I really enjoyed the shadow and the point where you were dancing in the dark, where in fact you in correlation with how I at least understand the theme of Mephisto, where I keep on I automatically go think Faust a little bit. And I don't know, and that for me the shadow on the washing machine became, you know, it could also be the shadow from Hans Christian Andersen, this kind of trace that is yeah, taking over.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, the washing machines deformed a little also the shadow, right? Because of
Yeah, exactly. That was for me. In fact, for me, I found it quite beautiful in its yeah, in the tech. I would have liked to be in the room to feel it physically, yes, instead of just watching it on screen. But yeah,
there you would have also smelled the grass.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, maybe I can shortly say, because I was quite surprised when Jari came with this idea. He wanted to have washing machines on stage. I was like, okay, then how can we, I mean, yes, why not washing machines, you know? So I was like, but how to place them in the room so that it would make sense that they become a different meaning. Then we were like, okay, maybe we can just, first we had like some in the room, but it was a little too chaotic. And then I like, why not just putting them on top of each other to, yeah, make a wall out of it.
Yeah, and then I like made some 3D sketches of it as well. So we like built the stage virtually at first, and then we saw like how does it feel, and then we put it into action. But it's also like I like that you said that there was like the aesthetic of the washing machine, because there is also a lot of like me working visually. So I also try to look at like the aesthetic of everyday things, because I have a lot of like influences from like history of looking, for example, the work of Bauhaus, who were the pioneers of putting I guess we lost one. Pioneers of putting the design into, putting the art into how do you call it?
Everyday tools.
Everyday object design. So taking like as this object that has been now like discarded, and like seeing the beauty in it also as well.
Yeah.
May I jump in? The question. It's I only experienced the live version of it, and there all the you may call it the objects, Jari, or the scenography. I wonder what part all of the things play in telling the story. I sense that there is a lot in Alexa. She's very present in the piece. But what does all the other things? How do they help tell the story of Mephisto?
What do you think? What is the story of Mephisto?
It's a story of bad and good. That's the very short.
I want to turn and what is Mephisto for you? I think that, and it's because you, as in the introduction, you both, all of you said, but each of you had your own Mephisto story, and I think one thing is that I can relate to the stories that I'm hearing, but it's also the question is, how do you interpret what he is, good, bad, what the concept is. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it yeah, I go Faust, you know, where do you go?
Well, yeah, well, for me it was this, I'm a good person. That is
Yeah.
my personal manifesto.
Yeah.
The text about the dilemma, actually, being a good person, but then also using that for something, to get something, and this moral dilemma of trying to succeed as an artist in this world, in this society, somehow, and what do I need to do? And then what is my responsibility? Do I have a responsibility as an artist? And yes,
and what
I do.
is the
Exactly.
and what is the responsibility?
Exactly. Yeah. So this is my Mephisto, and also my background, my story. Yes.
I think for me, I think this is very clear. And also your text on the political art or not is like, yes, fully, completely understand this dilemma, because but it becomes, is it good? Is it bad? Is it good that you make good art, that you earn money doing good art? Yeah, should you be not known? Should you be making a good art? Is it good or bad to have this Mephisto? Are you selling your soul, or are you keeping your
There's also, I mean, we did not make it to give answers, you know, but actually to reflect on our own, to let other people reflect. I mean, it was our answers posing those questions our reflection. And Jari has written the Apolitical Manifesto as his Mephisto.
Yeah, so the Mephisto for us is the dilemma, and also like what dilemma the main character in the book Mephisto has, like this Klaus Car or what
The Mephisto character.
The Mephisto character, what was his name? It was Henry Hefgen, exactly. So he had the dilemma of like, oh, should I work with the Nazis or should I not work with the Nazis? Well, but translated into this like societal practice that I'm in this society, what type of, if I'm an artist, what type of art should I do or should not do? What is expected from me? What are the things that I value? What are the things that for example, the state wants me to do? How do I like write the applications so it would fit, so I could sustain myself as a person with like the Maslow pyramid of like the basic needs as well. So putting also like, so I would also say that in the objects, like you had the question, Nana, like in the objects, you can see like the reflection of an artistic practice. So also like, yes, there in the performance, there is a dramaturgical storyline of like how it like builds up, and then there's like things happen, and then it goes like here and there and stuff like that. So in that sense, also there are like different scenes that are like elements, but like a play on the same subject. So I would also say that actually the things on stage are like different scenes. They are on the same subject. They don't always like correlate to each other, but as I said, like beforehand, you can find the things that tie together with each other. For example, the interpretive things in the Lexa, but also they kind of like stand on their own as a metamorphosis of like taking something and turning it into something else, because that's also like what artists do a lot, is like ask a lot of questions and transform like your perception of objects or your perception of concepts. So if I take a lamp which has been turned into a flower pot, then there already is like an error in that sense.
Or having also a rope in the front, just hanging, or bringing grass from outside to the inside and then forming like a square with this grass after, or having a goldfish sitting in the washing machine the whole performance and then taking it out afterwards. All those things had well, yeah, meaning.
Yes, and in some sense they don't like make any sense at all.
Exactly, yeah. It was
And
personal.
it's very important that they also like don't make sense.
Yeah. Maybe a short thing also to know, because the ones who have seen it just digital, we also had terms and conditions for the people.
You had
Terms and conditions.
okay, terms and conditions, yes.
Terms and conditions we wrote, like kind of signing terms and conditions. You always have to sign terms and conditions and not knowing really what it is. Then you have bought a washing machine, no, or you get like post every month. And this was also something for people to enter. So there were some artistic ones in this and some random, some actually from a theater, some in relation to Corona. And also for afterwards, when you left the performance, we had some flower seeds to give away. So also like this smashing of the flowers as an evil act, so to see, is also something to, okay, there's maybe some hope. Because we didn't want it to make it too dramatic, I think also.
So also like mythologically, you like Mephisto is not also like a bad character in that sense. Like he's a trickster character and also like very creative.
Yeah.
But creative in another sense that, for example, like the character God is. So making a lot of like mischief also creates like change, and like the change could have like also positive effects as well, not also like negative effects. So it's like this, it balances out. So it's not only about the good versus evil type of story, it's also more complex than that.
I was wondering about, again, going back to Mephisto and your own Mephisto. What we, at least the way I perceived it, the Mephistos you presented to us, the different kinds that come from you, they were mostly in relation to art or artistic practice or the art world in itself, because that's also in direct correlation with the book, if I remember correctly. But I was wondering if you, in your process, went through a more personal search for the Mephisto. I know that Annika, you did, but I mean, the four of you, and how did you go about that? Did you do that on an individual basis, or did you do it somehow together, or was there a mix between, this like collective search for the inner Mephisto and the individual?
I actually asked that they should write some personal text about the personal Mephisto, and then we had Natalie to help making it dramaturgically work somehow, that it gets a rhythm. One got a song from Tia, for example. She wrote the Goldfish song, and I think I mean it varied.
And also like it was like the personal search in that sense. Like we didn't do like a collective search. Like we knew like what the topic was, and everybody like when we get into the space and creating it, then we used like devising methods of like putting all things together. But like the stories that were there as texts were personal stories. And for example, I am like a horrible writer, so I had like just the dialogue with Natalie, with our dramaturg. So she would like, hey, answer these two questions, and then I was like, okay, I answered these two questions, and then it created like a dialogue, and then she was like, hey, do this thing as an exercise. And then I was like, okay, I will put some things down. So it was also like a working method proposed by her. As
And
that
did
was
you
like my experience.
and did you comment on each other's Mephistos, or you just accepted them?
I just accepted. Well, I just thought they're amazing also. I would love to do it with all people actually, because I think it's super interesting, because it shows something about their personal thing without putting it on a plate with the same. Yeah, and also the way differently they are answered, I really enjoyed, you know, making a song, or Jari making these lines like almost a manifesto, and I'm writing kind of personal. It says so much about the person already. And Natalie, she was dramaturgical, really correct, you know. So it also shows her position in an artistic way.
I just wanted to point out that this like terms and conditions that you gave us, that also there was this element of absurdity to it. First of all, because they didn't really match necessarily as a whole, but also because they contradicted themselves, and that kind of prepared us already for these like elements that that you talked about, that were on stage, that didn't really function in their, let's say, designed intention, but that functioned in different ways, and things that were kind of broken or turned upside down. And and there was a lot of humor in the piece as well, which I would be curious to hear a bit more about, like how the humor came about, or was that a conscious decision, or did it just naturally happen?
Could you like elaborate on the humor part?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, these terms and conditions, that I think that for me, I already chuckled or laughed about a few of those, and then coming into this space and seeing these 9 washing machines, which is just, it's humorous in itself. And then there were elements of that seemed like very serious, but then there was a karaoke moment, which was totally unexpected. So just, and the aquarium, which kind of seemed like, okay, this is where the goldfish is supposed to be, but in the end, the goldfish was living all this time in this really, really tiny confined space in the washing machine. And a living human being sat inside, very alive, but it also looked a bit like a coffin. And it just played, I felt there were moments where in the audience, we were reacting with laughter to what we experienced. And yeah, I don't know if you felt it was a piece that was also humorous, but to me, and it felt like to other people.
I think for me, I also saw humor, but I saw it also very much as a way of distancing, using this maybe irony or because of the absurdity of, as you say, the elements, the way that I didn't know about that also, and also for me personally, at least, the sweetness of your voice, Annika, and it can really play on being very childlike. It has, yet what you are saying has such a punch that it nearly makes it, it's humorous, yet it is straight into the gut, because it is not delivered like a, yes, this was anyone, or I feel like this, or I don't want, no, it's more, it becomes more like statements. And I think that's where, at least I perceive the humoristic thing, because it becomes the what do you call it, the tension between, or the gap and between what is being said and how it is being presented becomes, turn things on its head. At least that is how I perceive it. And now I took, I can't remember your name.
Jari?
Yeah.
No,
Annika?
you just talked about humor. What,
Nadja.
Nadja.
Anyway, I think it's so right to see this kind of that the message is being delivered with humor. At least that's how I see.
It was on purpose.
It
But
was
I
on
think
purpose, no?
It was not.
It was not.
not that we thought, oh, now people have to laugh. Not at all.
But it's more, I think, like which was like presented as humor. I think it's also connected like to the playfulness, which was like we didn't also want it to be like, oh, this is so difficult to do all these things. We didn't want it to have like a notion like that. So I think it was also like a little bit of an unconscious decision, but in that sense, it was also like a deliberate act of like having this playfulness to it, and not forgetting like, because like we are in this field because we like it and we're passionate about it, and we wouldn't do it if it wouldn't be fun in that sense.
There's also for me like this childish is also without being not thinking about moral choices, and maybe that led to these funny things. And this is also for me a part of Mephisto, also thinking about, I mean, Freud, like this Übermensch and the animalistic and the realistic, and maybe the animalistic also did, and childish, just going with the passion, just going with the flow, just going with what is fun. And then not seeing the downside of it. And that makes it then also really absurd. And that causes also then the dilemma, I guess. Yeah, and I guess also we are humorous people anyway. So even though we see the dramatic and yeah, in it, it's nice to turn it upside down.
But I think it's also even in the way that you move, Annika, the way that the choice of movement, the quality of movement also underlines this, because it's nearly in French you say anodin. It's nearly just everyday. Like you're not going, I'm the dancer, I have a big technique. You are moving, yes, but you are using it in a very sort of a light flow. And I think that also, you know, goes in that direction, or pushes it, the interpretation very much in that direction. You know. But I wonder, have you thought about it like this, or was it just something that happened?
It happened actually. I did not thought about it, but well, maybe this is also. Well, I have not. Yeah, it's really good. Thank you for the feedback. I thought a lot about how Pina Bausch created movements, and this I used also. Yeah, and I couldn't help at a certain point. I couldn't help thinking about Nelligan and Dominique Merci going. You know, so you want to see a dancer? Exactly.
You know, exactly. Yeah.
And doing the perfect ballet dancer. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And it reminded me also on the Mephisto, you know, that people want to see how you show up. Show your moves, the best ones, the splits and whatever the pirouettes. And I was looking actually also for a moment where it's like, where I'm almost uncomfortable. And so it turned a little in this situation with the karaoke. And I wished it would have been even more uncomfortable actually, or not planned.
Uncomfortable for you or for the audience?
That the audience feels also my uncomfortableness, if that makes sense.
No, my uncomfortability.
Oh, yours.
That was good.
Because also this Mephisto, he sometimes also with his laughing and stuff like this, he's just, I don't know what to say, but it's you get ashamed, you know, friend shame, like you get ashamed because of someone else doing something.
Yeah.
But it also lays out so much. So I tried also to have this kind of almost nakedness on stage without being actually naked, but this. Yeah.
So actually, it was like deliberate, but like you had another thing in mind, and then it created that kind of like a humoristic effect.
Yes.
So yeah, it was created with intention.
Yeah.
But with a different kind of intention, actually.
I'm gonna jump in and say thank you, Annika and Jari. We are a bit over time, but if there are more questions, I think if you have time, please ask. I'll stay here for a few minutes more, but if you have somewhere to be, you are welcome to leave as well. But Helen, Nadja, if you have more questions, then one last one.
I do, but I don't know if Helen, you would.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, this now you have shown it live, and now we have also the opportunity to see it online. Is that the end of the journey of MEPHISTO, or will you continue investigating it, creating, continuing the work, the research on it?
Yes, actually, right, yeah.
Oh, you know, you have to start it. Go for it.
Okay. Like next week, we're doing a residency in Tanztheater. So we continue, me and Annika will continue our collaboration, the artistic collaboration. Like we have the MEPHISTO piece and we have the themes and everything in it. And in that sense, yes, we are continuing with it, but also like we would also be very interested in presenting it and to go through it and doing it, showing it to people, also getting feedback on it, and then continuing the research.
Yes.
But you've already, is it this piece or is it another piece, Annika, you've been down showing at a festival in Germany, or it was a competition or something?
Yeah, this is my old solo.
That's your old solo, okay, yeah.
It's going to go to Rome now.
Yeah.
But MEPHISTO, I mean, we have some applications open, and now we start with the Teaterøen, with Udviklingsplatform next week, in Teaterøen.
Yeah.
So also for ourselves to reflect on the whole process, to get feedback, to go through everything, to ask more questions, where to go, also how to make it move to different stages. With the washing machines, how can this be possible? Also, if we, for example, have a round stage or so, how can we build up the washing machines there? So there are a lot of also those questions.
Yeah, like practical questions, but in that sense as well, like artistic work kind of like never stops. So it, of course, it is like an evolving thing in its own as well.
And Tia, the musician, she wants to actually make a music album out of it.
She wants to make a music album.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the music she created for the piece in collaboration with us, she would also like to have as a separate artwork. That's right.
Yeah.
So yes, it continues.
Nadja, it was in fact the question that I also had, about the future. So, quite online about that.
And it is an intriguing subject in that sense.
It is.
And it is it's critical and on point with the times as well we are living in. So
it's and when being an artist, where it's very relevant, these kind of questions, suddenly, if you know, look at the Danish, you know, all the politicians now think that we are democracy bearers. Okay, that means that all of my application has to talk about democracy suddenly. You know, we are parent. It's always I think an ongoing question, that one. Yeah.
It's also actually to give value to all the artists, you know, for their work. I mean, this is maybe also why art matters. Coming back to the Living Manifesto, I mean, it's also a contribution to that.
Yeah.
To give an insight.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
And Nadja, so nice you're tuning in.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining. It was really wonderful to hear your thoughts, Jari and Annika. And just a little reminder that we still have 2 days of the festival left. So we have a program tomorrow, which is a release of Scintili, and which is a digital piece, and a live talk with Beyond Darkness, Nadja and I. And then we have also another talk, which is a talk on making art more accessible and available with Gry Vore Halberg and Arkeb Toussaint Book. And then on Sunday, we have the release of the piece Sunday and Dear Dark Web, and then an artist talk with Lena Brun-Bundesen. So a lot of great things coming up this weekend.
And how long can you keep on accessing the performances or the videos?
Yeah, until
it's only on the date.
No, you can see them until the 26th of September. So
okay.
you have
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Of 2 months. That's good. Thank you very much.
Well, our thing is online indefinitely. So
okay.
you need to like show it to somebody to share it, then please go ahead.
I hear you.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a very nice evening.
You too.
Yes, you too.
Ciao.
For now.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.